学英式口音还是美式口音，该怎么学？如果让我回答这个问题，我会说这和喜欢什么类型的音乐一样，属于个人偏好。不论是英音还是美音，甚至是印度口音和中式口音，它其实都是一种口音。口音是一群人的语音特点。你用这种口音和别人对话，别人会说哟不错哦，是自己人哦，会更容易听懂你说话，也会更愿意和你说话。但是作为一个国家的语言，难免会有很多方言。
What people commonly describe as a British accent is actually called received pronunciation. This term describes the standard accent of Standard English and is generally spoken in the south of England. The term was introduced by phonetician Daniel Jones, but is sometimes replaced by other terminologies such as BBC pronunciation. Regardless of the way you call it, you can definitely master this accent. Or, if you prefer, any other UK accent. So the question is, how can you talk in a British, or more specifically, an English accent?
狭义上的伦敦口音是指伦敦东区的 Cockney accent 口音。由于伦敦东区曾经是工业区，生活着大量以工人为主的社会地位较低的人，这种口音的确非常有英国味儿，可是呢，好像并不被大多英国人喜爱。
Let's find out what it sounds like. This is an interview with Joseph Cook, the owner of London's oldest pie and mash shop, who speaks with a Cockney accent. His great-grandfather opened the first London shop. Based in Hoxton, Joe Cook carries on the business, the fourth generation.
Very early on of becoming a concert pianist. The podger is to make the shape of the dish with the dough so that all the meat and gravy can go inside. So this is what Harry's going to do. He's going to podge the pies for you. I was to put my hand on my heart and say, I know every single thing that goes into our food. Every single thing. We produce everything from scratch, from the bottom up. From the flour, the marge, the beef suet, which we prepare ourselves and grind ourselves. Our parsley, we grind ourselves. Fresh English parsley. At the moment, in actual fact, it's Spanish, but generally, during the season, it's English. We have fresh beef every week that I bone out. I actually butcher it myself. Everything is produced from scratch, so I can put my hand on my heart and I say I know exactly what has gone into it. That is that's very good. That's a real plus side for me. This is the meat with salt and pepper and a drop of water so we can use it, and a small drop of gravy browning just to give it a bit of colour. And here we go. We have to make vegetable pies now for our vegetarian friends.
I think it's quite strong whenever he speaks beef, like beef.
Instead of beef.
Yeah, everything
beef.
is prepared from scratch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And instead of heart to heart.
From my heart.
Hand on my heart.
不知道大家找到一点感觉没有？如果还没有的话，我们接下来看一看这个。
Decided to help out. I thought I'd go back and help the kids. I'm from the hood. I can connect with these kids. Be a teacher. Because I'd seen the films, with Sidney Poitier.
What did he say?
Because I've seen the films, with Sidney Poitier. It's a French surname actually for the actor. I think it's Poitier, but he really pronounced it Poitier.
Okay. But his accent is very, very strong. Yeah.
Dawn's not answering her phone, so I thought I'd better get stuck in.
Right.
Then I thought I'd go home, have a shower, clean up, and invite you out to dinner. So
What
we
did he
could
say?
talk.
I thought. So he said in like I thought.
I thought.
I thought.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Shall I hear that again? I thought.
Phone, so I thought I'd better get stuck in.
Right.
Then I thought I'd go home, have a shower, clean up, and invite you out to dinner. So we could talk.
Like my mind works in a sort of strange way, is that the other day I was listening to the radio and I suddenly thought of the fact that something I once read, which is quite surprising because you can't see it from the map, is that there is nowhere in England that is more than 52 miles from the sea. Really, there is nowhere. And I thought England was bigger than that.
This accent, I think, is quite casual. We hear in everyday life.
Yeah, it seems like maybe a blend between Cockney and received pronunciation.
Yes, it sounds definitely softer. 看完这几个例子，不知道大家对 Cockney accent 有没有找到一点感觉？其实多数人喜欢的是伦敦上层社会的口音。
Received pronunciation.
简称 RP。RP 是英国广播电视台中标准口音。牛津是英国历史上重要的学术中心，所以牛津口音也代表着有教养、有身份。这些高贵的口音有一个标准，就是将原来的卷舌音弱化，以至于很多英国人都不发 R 这个字母音。让我们来看以前的一段新闻，来感受一下 BBC 式的口音。
Around 1 million more children in England should be eligible for free school meals and would benefit from a hot meal a day. That's according to a leading food charity. The Food Foundation says there's an urgent need to expand the criteria of who qualifies by raising the earnings threshold to £20,000 a year before benefits. Our education correspondent Elaine Dunkley reports.
Please notice the differences between this BBC accent and the voices in the rest of the video.
You feel like you're a failure, you're not a failure. Because I run a garden company, so my business has lost nearly 150 customers through COVID. I've lost about £18,000 this year.
Steve worries about putting food on the table for his 3 children. He also worries about feeding dozens of families across Staley Bridge. He set up this food bank to help others.
These are people who've worked and they've been on furlough, gas going up, food going up, everything's going up and the wages aren't going up. There's more working families come here than there is people not working, and that's what I thought I'd never see. I need to get more food. I've not got the food to sustain this. Now we've got 2 tins of potatoes. I need 80 tins of potatoes this week. So yeah, I do worry.
Have you had a good day? I literally live week by week, and I might have £1 left in my purse at the end of the week. You need it on its cold, sweetheart.
Colette is a mum of 2 and works full-time. She doesn't qualify for free school meals because she earns above the eligibility threshold of £7,400 a year.
Going to a food bank, it's not nice. It's scary. Food's going up and it's all right when it's just like 20-30p at that time, but when you work it out over the week or the month, it turns into pounds. I'll go to the corner shop. My youngest, he has like a little pot with his coins and he'll say, "Wait, mummy, I'm just getting some money." And he'll bring it down. "I'll get this, mummy, because you haven't got much money and you work hard, I'll get it out of my money." And it's so upsetting.
Another day and Steve has more deliveries.
It's going to Buxton Vale. Got a food bank in there with Debbie, the head teacher.
He's also set up food banks in 4 primaries, which mainly help the families who don't get free school meals but are running low on food.
There's lots of families who don't have much, so we really want to help them.
This head teacher wants the eligibility threshold expanded to include more children and says schools are struggling to provide a safety net to help working families.
So in an evening, usually at around 8 o'clock, myself and several other local head teachers go to collect the food for the children. Teachers are spending their own money on food, they're topping up the food banks. The challenges are significant.
The government says it's expanded access to free school meals more than any other government in recent decades, and there are currently over 1.7 million pupils in England that receive a nutritious free school meal through the benefits-related criteria. But food charities are warning it doesn't go far enough to reach working families struggling to put food on the table. Elaine Dunkley, BBC News in Staley Bridge.
不知道小伙伴们有没有注意到 BBC 口音和其他的口音还是有一些不同的，就像是新闻里的广播腔和大家平时说话时候的样子。英国口音普遍代表的像是电视剧的《唐顿庄园》和《傲慢与偏见》等。我们接下来就看一下《唐顿庄园》里的表演者 Mary 就是有一股正宗的英国腔。
Yeah, I mean, I thought that scene was brilliant, and that was all happening sort of in the background. We were in another part of the library where all of that scene was set, and we could hear it going on. And it's such a great scene between the two of them, and of course they are two, powerhouses, Maggie and Imelda. So I thought that casting of Imelda Staunton was, it was genius, and we were very lucky that she came onto the show. And for us, because of course she's married to Jim Carter, we've known Imelda for years. So for her to suddenly become part of the Downton family, it felt like she'd always been there, and it was just such a pleasure to have her.
不知道大家注意到了没有，他这种英国腔式的发音就有很多 t， 就还是很强调这种 t 的发音的。
That kind of accent is received pronunciation, more posh English way of speaking.
我们再来看一下英式口音的另一个代表人物，就是 Emma Watson。So hot water bottle.
Yeah, and the way she says phone as well. Like, phone.
Phone.
My phone. To start sounding more native and have a British accent, your best bet is to watch programs on the BBC. Try to observe the way their presenters use their mouth, their tongue, and watch the way their lips move. You'll notice that there are local programs too, so you could pick up a northern, southern, or Geordie accent in the process. Not only should you pay attention to the sounds that are coming out of their mouth, but you should also focus on trying to figure out how these sounds are coming out. Which parts of their mouth are they using when producing them? Try to imitate the way they speak.
在《王冠》这部电视剧中，演员们是如何练就一口标准的皇室口音。
You guys both have very posh British accents in the show. Can you show us how to do your best accent?
There's only one thing you need to know about that accent, and it's that you need to say one.
One.
How do you say was, Matt?
Oh, don't get me started on was and was. I mean, for God's sake.
You don't know which way's up, do you?
Well, was apparently is the right way, but it was...
Was one. One.
Was one. Was one. That was a real bee in my bonnet.
It really was the thorn in his side.
So how did you know what was the right way to say things, and how did you learn how to say it in the right way?
There's a guy called William who's there with a cattle prod if you get was or one.
He has a taser gun.
Sort of tasers you and then you say it correctly.
Yeah, hits you around the face with the fish, and then you have to say it right.
On set, it was such a weird accent to do, and we ended up having to treat it like a dialect, because if you didn't, you ended up sort of being like slightly like a parody of a posh accent, and actually it's a really weird accent, and it's got a lot of German accent in it because of the heritage. Practice all the time. I mean, Claire, Matt and I would actually on set go around all the time in the accent, speaking with the dialect coach, and you'd have to maintain it because otherwise you felt really weird.
Can you give me a line of Britishness?
What would you like me to say? It becomes very easy because you have to practice so much.
大家注意到没有？他这就开始用皇室口音说话了，尤其是这个 practice， 我觉得是最明显的。大家再来听一遍。
What would you like me to say? It becomes very easy because you have to practice so much.
Yeah.
Practice.
So much. You could also record yourself saying the same sentences and compare your version to the original one. Don't worry about sounding silly. We guarantee that this method really helps.
如果你喜欢我们的视频，请记得点赞、订阅，并且点开旁边的小铃铛。我们下期再见吧，拜拜。
拜拜。